Around 11,000 years ago, more than 70 species of large-bodied mammals, including mammoths, giant ground sloths, and bear-sized beavers, suddenly vanished from North America. Their demise perfectly coincided with two major events: the arrival of humans in the New World and severe climatic shifts. Yet, despite decades of scientific investigation, the exact trigger for this massive die-off remains completely unsolved. The surviving evidence is incomplete, leaving researchers to divide into three primary camps to explain the extinction: human overkill, hyperlethal disease, and climate change. To understand the loss, we have to look at the animals themselves. Most mammoths were roughly the size of a modern Asian elephant, but exceptionally large males reached heights of 4 meters at the shoulder and weighed up to 12 tons. Because of that enormous size, their biological clock was incredibly slow. Females lived in matriarchal herds and required a 22-month gestation period to give birth to a single calf, which then needed extended care. That specific combination, massive caloric requirements and extremely slow population growth, meant any sudden environmental shock or new predator could decimate a herd faster than it could reproduce. This graph illustrates the overkill model. A computer simulation by paleoecologist John Alroy shows that if a single band of 50 humans killed just 15 to 20 large mammals a year, they could drive the entire animal population to extinction within 1,000 years. But critics point to a logistical problem. Many of these species roamed across huge continental territories, stretching from the Yukon down to Mexico. Wiping out millions of animals across millions of square miles would require a highly systematic slaughter by a relatively small human population. There is also a glaring lack of hard physical evidence. The entire North American archaeological record contains barely a dozen examples of stone points embedded in mammoth bones. While human-driven extinction works perfectly in a purely mathematical simulation, the physical artifacts dug out of the ground simply do not match the scale of a continent-wide hunting campaign. This discrepancy led to a second theory. Human arrival brought hyperlethal diseases, carried by their dogs or hitchhiking vermin. The native megafauna would have been immunologically naive, allowing murderous microbes to spread rapidly and without resistance. The primary hurdle for this hypothesis is testing it. A hyperlethal pathogen kills its host entirely too quickly to leave a physical signature or lesion on the bone structure itself. As long as researchers rely strictly on fossilized skeletons, this theory remains unproven. Confirmation requires extracting and analyzing microbial DNA from the surviving tissue of the very last perishing mammoths. A third camp removes human beings from the equation, focusing instead on the severe climatic instability of the Pleistocene epoch. This map shows how those severe weather fluctuations impacted the landscape. Vast, continuous habitats quickly disappeared and splintered into isolated pockets, drastically shrinking the geographic ranges available to grazing communities. Although some animals maintained viable numbers through most of the Pleistocene, a final major temperature fluctuation known as the Younger Dryas event pushed the remaining weakened populations past the point of recovery. Under this model, the weather didn't freeze the animals directly. It systematically eliminated the massive, interconnected geographical space that large herbivores require to find enough food to survive. Ultimately, the definitive trigger for the extinction of these 70 species remains unknown. Hunting, disease, and climate shifts each present scientifically plausible mechanics, and it is highly likely that a combination of all three doomed the megafauna. The final answer won't be found in existing mathematical models, but buried in future archaeological breakthroughs and advanced genetic sequencing. This video is brought to you by the IELTS Focus. Contact them on Zalo at 0847705 973.